Hello, friends. John here. I'm glad you stopped by. George R. Martin will never finish a Song of Ice and Fire book series. Never. Now, this isn't my hope or wish, it's just my beliefs. So if you love the books, don't get angry at me and start calling me names. If you disagree with any of my reasoning, you can put comments about those. Please do. The ultimate reason I believe he stuck, stopped, stalled, and will not finish is that he didn't start out with a discrete, concrete, definite ending in mind, something that he could definitely work to. At most, I think he had a general type of thing that he wanted a bittersweet ending, something like that that's so general that at some point he just stuck and doesn't know how to proceed. Now, I'll go over my reasoning, what brought me to these conclusions. As I said, it's not my wish. I actually grew to love the series on television. I loved season 1 through 4. Season 5, I started seeing real problems. 7 and 8, I despised. Was buying the DVDs up until the 6th season. Like I said, the 7th and 8th were so bad, I wasn't going to buy them. I wasn't one of those that waited to the last episode and said, oh, that it ended horribly. It's the 7th season. I said, this is going to have a horrible ending because it's really gone downhill. But in any event, I would like to see how he can envision an ending, come up with an ending, if he can. That would be great. Now, I haven't bought any books. I was tempted many a times, but I had a feeling he wouldn't finish, and then I became convinced he wasn't going to finish. So I don't want to buy any books that I don't know the ending to because the author doesn't even know the ending of it. Well, let's get back to my reasoning. I've seen interviews with George Martin where he says he believes there's two types of writers. Gardeners, which he believes he is the type of, and architects. Architects plot out and outline how their story's going to go, where their character is going to go step by step to the ending. They've thought it out all ahead of time. The gardener has some seeds that they plant, and they're not sure where it's going to grow and how it's going to grow, and they tend the garden and maybe shape the plants and maybe plant some more seeds, and they may even be surprised the direction it's growing in. So he considers him that type. Now, I wanted to go over a letter that's on the internet that's from George Martin. It was sent back in 1993, October 1993, to his publisher, that I think has parts of it that support my belief that he didn't know precisely where he was going with it. Now, I'm not going to read the whole letter. You can go on the internet and find it. I just want to point out parts that sort of bolster my belief. And I actually believed it before I saw this letter, before it even came out on the internet. He says, as you know, I don't outline my novels. I find that if I know exactly where a book is going, I lose all interest in writing it. I do, however, have some strong notions as to the overall structure of the story I'm telling and the eventual fate of many of the principal characters in the drama. And I think as I go through other sections, you'll see that the fates of many of the principal ones have changed drastically. And he's not even done the story. And they're changed drastically from what he tells in this letter is his intended outcome for them. He says, 5 central characters will make it through all 3 volumes. However, growing from children to adults and changing the world and themselves in the process. In a sense, my trilogy, he intended it originally as a trilogy, is almost a generational saga telling life stories of these 5 characters, 3 men and 2 women. The 5 key players are Tyrion Lannister, Daenerys Targaryen, and 3 of the children of Winterfell, Arya, Bran, and the bastard Jon Snow. Let me skip down the way. Each of the contending families will learn it has a member of dubious loyalty in the midst. Sansa Stark, wed to Joffrey, will bear him a son, the heir to the throne. And when the crunch comes, will choose her husband and child over her parents and siblings. A choice she will later bitterly rue. Tyrion Lannister, meanwhile, will befriend both Sansa and her sister Arya, while growing more and more disenchanted with his own family. I'll skip some more. Robb will win several splendid victories and maim Joffrey on the battlefield, but in the end will not be able to stand against Jaime and Tyrion and their allies. Robb Stark will die in battle, and Tyrion Lannister will besiege and burn Winterfell. Jon Snow, the bastard, will remain in the far north. He will mature into a ranger of great daring and ultimately succeed his uncle as commander of the Night's Watch. When Winterfell burns, Catelyn Stark will be forced to flee north with her son Bran and her daughter Arya. Hounded by Lannister riders, they will seek refuge at the Wall, but the men of the Night's Watch give up their families when they take the Black, and Jon and Benjen will not be able to help, to Jon's anguish. It will lead to bitter estrangement between Jon and Bran. Arya will be more forgiving until she realizes, get this, with terror, that she has fallen in love with Jon, who's not only her half-brother, but a man of the Night's Watch, sworn to celibacy. Their passion will be continued to torment Jon and Arya throughout the trilogy until the secret of Jon's true parentage is finally revealed in the last book. Abandoned by the Night's Watch, Catelyn and her children will find their only hope of safety lies even further north, beyond the Wall, where they fall in the hands of Mance Rayder. Bran's magic, Arya's sword needle, and the savage ear of their direwolves will help them survive. But their mother, Catelyn, will die at the hands of the others. Tyrion Lannister will continue to travel, to plot and to play the Game of Thrones, finally removing his nephew Joffrey in disgust at the boy king's brutality. Jaime Lannister will follow Joffrey on the throne of the Seven Kingdoms by the simple expedient of killing everyone ahead of him in the line of succession and blaming his brother Tyrion for the murders. Exiled Tyrion will change sides, seeking common cause with the surviving Starks to bring his brother down, and falling helplessly in love with Arya Stark. While he's at it, his passion is, alas, unreciprocated, but no less intense. And it will lead to a deadly rivalry between Tyrion and Jon Snow. So I'm reading these not to say these were better, these were worse than what ultimately happened, just to show that there's huge differences, huge changes between the characters he said were the major characters, which he said he pretty well knew their fate. This is much different than the TV show and what I think is in the books. I've heard from other people what's in the books and read people that written up differences between the show and the books as it was happening, that these are huge. Like Jon Snow dead, Arya over in Essos. Are they going to fall in love with Tyrion and Jon Snow with Arya? And the so-called minor characters, and Jaime getting the throne, and Catelyn going up north of the Wall. Huge differences, huge differences. Again, not saying it's bad or good or what happened, but that he has no concrete thing in mind. There can't be a definite end with these characters when such major changes happen. There's a thing called the butterfly effect. A little change can magnify over time and build on other changes. And these are huge changes, not little changes. So the ending couldn't be the same of some concrete ending. Let me go over the timelines that the books were put out to make a point. The Game of Thrones was 1996, A Clash of Kings 1999, and A Storm of Swords 2000. So after the first book, within 4 years, 2 more books. Then the next book, A Feast of Crows 2005. So that's 5 years for one book. Remember, it took 4 for 2 and then 5 for 1. And after that, Dance of Dragons 2011, 6 years. 5-6 years for individual books. Now it's 2022. It won't be long till it's July 2023. That'll be 12 years. And no book. And he says 2 more books, but the way he's writing, it might even be more than that. How can he get them done? Why is there such a big gap? Now, there's a thing called a Meereenese knot. And I'm not 100% sure what it is. To the best of my knowledge, it's that there are some characters that need to be in a certain place at the same time, but they are different stages of where their journey. And they have different goals, so you can't have one just sitting here, they've accomplished their goal and spinning their wheels, doing nothing, while this other one's got to go through certain things before they get there. So they're out of line where they should be in stories. If you're an architect, as you were plotting it out, you would come to that stage and say, oops, and you could go back and change it. But as a gardener, you publish some books. You can't go back in time because you're making it up as you go along, and those books are out, and you know, oops, these things are out of whack now. What do I do? That's my understanding of why. It's like, what do I do? I can't come up with a solution. So you stall with that. Well, my feeling is it's all a song of ice and fire knot. He's got so many plots and subplots and characters that he's put into all these books that he hadn't originally intended, and I'll put some more. Oh, I come up with another good little subplot. I'll put it over here. Oh, I got some more characters. I'll put them in here in this second book, the third book. Now there's so much of a jumble, he doesn't know how to tie them together. And in fact, he's forgotten about certain characters. Is this one alive? Is this one dead? Who's that character? There's so many of them. What's going on with that one? Oops, you know. There's too much for him to tie together. So it's much easier to go work on something else. Go work on a short story, a dunk and egg or something. It starts from scratch. You can just mold it up. There's a lot less characters and plot lines involved. And it's easier to work on that. It's simpler. And I think that's what he was doing a lot. Or go to conventions, go to a TV interview. And in his mind, he can say, well, I'm working. I'm not goofing off. I'm doing work. Even if he goes to a convention, I'm promoting the books and the TV show, and that's giving me some money, and I'm accomplishing something. I'm not on vacation. And I'll do that. I'll work on that book next week. continuously he would make. You can go back years and he would say, oh, 6 months from now I'll be done. 6 more months. In 2018, he said, I know you want wins, and I am going to give it to you, but I am delighted that you stayed with me for this one as well. That's Fire and Blood. He had another book that he did instead of it. Now he won't. Oh, buy this book. I don't have an end for that, but I will have an end. That's what he says. It won't be tomorrow, and it won't be next week, but you will get the end of A Song of Ice and Fire. So this is what sort of irritates me. He's making promises. Because there's some people that stick up for him, say, he's not your biatch. He can work on whatever he wants. Well, he shouldn't be making promises. He shouldn't be lying to people. But in my mind, when he's saying stuff like this, buy my book, new book. I don't have an end to the old book, but buy this one. You don't need to lie for greed. I think way back when he may have been lying to himself that he was going to finish it as he was doing other things. But I think at this point, when it's gone this many years, he knows he's stuck beyond all hope. But he can't say that. If he said that, there would be some people that would say, I'm not going to buy your Fire and Blood. You tricked me into buying this other stuff and even said there was an end to it or it's going to be released. There were people like me that almost bought the set a couple times. A set of books. Oh, they're on sale, this set. Oh, but he said he's going to come out in a few months. I'll just wait till then, And then I waited and where is it? Like, wait a minute. Maybe I better not buy this. But how many people did he trick that were like me, but he actually went through and bought it? Because he said he was almost done. He was working on it. It was going to be done. Or there are times he said, I'm not going to work on anything else. I'm going to drop all work. And not work anything until this book is done. The Winds and Winners done. And then all of a sudden he's working on other stuff. So clearly he didn't keep his promise. Or there was another one where he said, if I'm not done by a certain date, you can lock me up in a room and just keep me there. Didn't get it done. Well, some people don't care, and I do know people that don't care if there's an end to it, that they love the writing, the eloquence. Somebody's given a speech in the story, or there's a vivid descriptions of something, and just the way the words are put together. They find reading a paragraph or pages or whatever very interesting. So they don't care how it ends. But people like me, you set up a mystery and a drama, I want to know the end. I don't want to make up as you go along mystery. This is really mysterious and interesting. What's the resolution? Oh, you never had one? Like, no. And that's what I'm wondering about the others. In the TV show, they didn't really have any good answers. And I'm wondering in the book if it's just a MacGuffin that he had seen Hadrian's Wall and gave him a good idea for the Night Watch and organization. And it is an interesting concept and all, but does he have anything in mind with the others? I'm not so sure. What is there going to be their ultimate drama that problem they cause? Do they have any motivations? Anything they're going to truly attempt? Are they just mine as killers, or there's a reason? Is there anything to it that's going to materialize, or are they just going to stay up above the wall forever? So in conclusion, if you disagree with anything I said and you think he's going to finish, give me reasons why you think I'm wrong. But realize this, every day, every week, every month, every year that goes by that he's not done, I'm correct. And if he has an idea in his mind and he says, oh yes, I know the ending, until it's in book, until it's published, the final book, there is no ending. Because there are people today that you think, oh no, he has this perfect ending. It's different than the TV show, and it's perfect. And I know he has an ending in mind. Again, look at this letter. Look what he said was going to happen. Huge changes of characters, major and minor. So until it's in writing and published, it doesn't even matter if it's in his mind. It's not the real ending. Any more than when he says, I'm going to be done in 6 months, and it isn't. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Please put your comments and questions. Thank you.